My friend, not everyone in your life is meant to stay. And that's not a punishment, it's protection. Sometimes we hold on to people, relationships, or opportunities that God never intended for us to cling to. And when they leave, we ask why. We mourn, we question, but what if the closed door was God's mercy in disguise? When God says they're not for you, it's not because you're unworthy, it's because He has something better. It's because He sees what you don't. He hears the conversations you weren't meant to hear. He sees the betrayals that were forming behind your back. He knows the weight that your heart was never designed to carry. You may have loved them, you may have trusted them, but God knows who is real, who is loyal, who is built to walk with you into your next season. Some people are not equipped for your future. They were only assigned to your past. And here's the truth. Growth sometimes looks like distance. Healing sometimes looks like walking away. Obedience to God sometimes looks like standing alone. But in that silence, God speaks louder. In that loneliness, God draws near. So stop chasing what God has already removed. Don't dig up what He buried. Don't water what He's uprooted. You're not losing, you're being led. When God says they're not for you, it's not rejection. It's redirection. Trust Him. He knows what He's doing. You are not abandoned. You are protected. You are not forgotten. You are favored. You are not alone. You are chosen. So walk boldly into what's next. Let go of what's behind and thank God not just for what He gave you, but for what He took away. There are moments in life when we find ourselves deeply connected to people, opportunities, or paths that feel right to us. They make sense in our minds. They bring comfort to our hearts. And they align with what we think we want or need, but then without warning, those connections begin to fade. That person walks away. That door suddenly shuts. That opportunity slips through our fingers, and we're left wondering why. We question God. We question ourselves. We ask, did I do something wrong? But sometimes the answer has nothing to do with your mistake. Sometimes it has everything to do with God's protection. Divine protection doesn't always look like a miracle or feel like a blessing. In fact, it often feels like heartbreak, it feels like loss, it feels like confusion. Because while you're clinging to what you want, God is holding back what would have broken you. That relationship you were so sure was the one, God saw conversations you never heard. He saw intentions you were blind to. He saw a future where your heart would have been shattered in ways you couldn't have imagined. So He stepped in not to punish you, but to protect you. You see, our preferences are shaped by what we know, but what we know is limited. We choose based on the present. We decide based on what feels good, what looks promising, what makes sense in the moment. But God chooses based on forever. He sees the end from the beginning. He knows where that road leads. He knows who will build you up and who will tear you down. And when He says they're not for you, He's not being cruel, He's being kind. He's being a good father who doesn't hand you everything you ask for just because you want it. He gives you what will bless you, grow you, and lead you into His purpose for your life. Sometimes what you call rejection is actually redirection. And sometimes what you think is a loss is a layer of protection. God will remove people who were only pretending to be loyal. He will close doors that would have trapped you. He will disrupt your plans to preserve your peace. And it won't always come with an explanation. You won't always get a warning. But you'll look back later and say, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you for not giving me what I thought I needed. Thank you for keeping me from what I couldn't see." It takes faith to trust that kind of protection. It takes spiritual maturity to let go of your preferences and surrender to God's plan. But when you do, you make room for something greater. You allow God to bring in what is meant for you, the relationships that are genuine, the opportunities that are aligned with your calling, the path that doesn't just feel right, but is right. So when God says no, don't fight Him. Don't beg for what He's already removed. Trust that His no is wrapped in love. Trust that His silence is full of wisdom. Trust that even when it hurts, He is still protecting you from things you didn't even know could harm you. Divine protection may not match your personal preference, but it will always match your destiny. There's a truth we all must come to terms with. Not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Life is a journey with seasons, and in each season, God assigns the right people to walk beside you. Some are there to help you grow, some to teach you hard lessons, and some simply to accompany you for a little while. But not everyone is meant to go the distance. And when God begins to separate you from certain people, it's not always because something is wrong, it's because something is changing. You may love them, you may have history with them, you may have dreamed about a future with them in it, but God knows what's ahead, and He knows who can handle the weight of your calling. Not everyone is equipped to walk into your next season. Some were only meant to walk with you for a chapter, not the whole book. And the longer you try to hold on to people God is trying to remove, the more you delay your own growth. Sometimes we hold on to familiarity because it feels safe. We don't want to lose the people we've leaned on. We don't want to break ties with those we've laughed with, cried with, and struggled with. But spiritual maturity requires us to recognize when a relationship is no longer aligned with God's direction for our life. Just because someone was right for your past doesn't mean they're right for your future. You're not the same person you were a year ago. You've grown, you've changed, and growth demands separation at times. God will often begin to disturb your comfort when He's trying to move you to the next level, and part of that discomfort includes watching some people drift away or walk out of your life altogether. It's painful, yes, but it's also purposeful, because God knows that if they stayed, they would hold you back. Their vision isn't big enough for where you're going. Their mindset is too small for the mission you're being called to. Their presence would become a weight, not a blessing. And while you may feel lonely for a time, you're never removed without intending to replace. He will bring new people, people who speak life into your dreams, who lift your spirit instead of draining it, who challenge you to go higher rather than keep you low. But you have to be willing to release what no longer fits. You have to stop trying to force yesterday's connections into tomorrow's purpose. Letting go isn't failure, it's faith. Faith that God knows who belongs in your story. Faith that He is pruning your life so you can bear more fruit. Faith that those who left were never meant to carry the weight of your destiny. And that's okay. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to chase anyone. You simply have to trust that those who are meant for you will never require you to shrink yourself, compromise your peace, or pause your progress. When God begins to shift your circle, listen. It's not rejection, it's preparation. He's making room for better. There are moments when your heart will scream one thing, but God is quietly whispering another. Your emotions will urge you to hold on, to chase, to fix what's broken, or to stay in situations that feel familiar, even if they're harmful. But God's vision isn't based on your feelings. It's based on truth. And while your emotions may change from day to day, God's vision for your life remains constant, clear, and perfect. Feelings are real, but they're not always reliable. You can feel peace in the middle of a storm if your heart is aligned with God's will. You can feel chaos in a comfortable situation if God is trying to move you out of it. That's why you can't always trust what you feel. You have to learn to trust what God says. He sees what you don't. He knows what's coming. He understands the full picture of your life from beginning to end. And while you may be focused on what feels good in the moment, God is focused on what's best for your eternity. There will be times when your emotions want to run ahead of God's timing. You'll feel impatient, frustrated, and tempted to settle for something just because it's available now. But God's vision is never rushed. He's not interested in giving you temporary relief if it leads to long-term regret. He doesn't want you to be comfortable for a season if it costs you your calling in the end. So He may ask you to wait. He may ask you to walk away. He may ask you to let go of something or someone you deeply care about, not to hurt you, but to protect His greater purpose for you. When your emotions scream, "This is what I want," and God says, "This is not what you need," That's when your faith is tested. Will you follow your heart or will you follow his voice? It's hard. Letting go of something that feels right in the moment can feel like loss, but trusting God's vision means believing that he knows more than you. It means acknowledging that his plans are higher, his timing is better, and his outcomes are always filled with purpose, even when they don't make sense right now. Sometimes the very thing you're crying over losing is the thing God is rescuing you from. Sometimes the silence you're experiencing is the space God is using to shift you into something new. And sometimes the people you're begging God to keep are the very people he's removing because they're blocking your growth. Trusting his vision means laying your emotions at his feet and saying, even when I don't understand, I trust you. Let God lead, even when your feelings resist. Let his word be your compass when your heart feels lost. Because in the end, it's not about what feels good for a moment. It's about what's good for your soul. God's vision is clear. His path is sure, and his love is unshakable. You may not see the full picture now, but trust the one who painted it. He sees the ending, and it's more beautiful than you could ever imagine. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences we face. Whether it's being turned down by someone you cared about, not getting the job you prayed for, or watching a dream fall apart, rejection cuts deep. It makes you question your worth, your purpose, and sometimes even your faith. But what if rejection isn't the end? What if it's not a curse, but a divine course correction? What if the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually God bending your path towards something better? God doesn't waste anything, not even rejection. When a door closes, he doesn't panic. He redirects, he shifts. He moves you in a way that may not feel good in the moment, but is ultimately for your growth. You may not understand it while it's happening. It may feel unfair, sudden, or even cruel, but in time you begin to realize that the no you received was really a yes to something greater. What felt like the end of your story was just the end of a chapter. Often we become so attached to our own plans that we forget who the true author is. We script out how we think life should go and expect God to approve the draft. But he's not bound by our expectations. He sees every angle, every consequence, every hidden motive and unseen trap. And when he says no, it's never random, it's intentional. He's steering you away from something that looked right but wasn't rooted in purpose. Sometimes the people you wanted to stay in your life were never meant to go where God is taking you. Sometimes the opportunity you fought for would have derailed your spiritual growth. Sometimes the thing you thought you couldn't live without was blocking you from the thing you were created for. Rejection, when viewed through the lens of faith, becomes redirection. It's God saying, I know this hurts, but trust me, I have something better. The discomfort of rejection forces you to move, to grow, and to depend more fully on God. It exposes where your hope has been misplaced. It reveals the places in your heart where you've tried to build identity on approval, success, or relationships instead of on Christ. And while it may feel like everything is falling apart, it's really God rearranging your life in a way that aligns with his will. In those moments when the door slams shut, when the call doesn't come, when the person walks away, don't let bitterness take root. Don't let disappointment blind you to what God is doing behind the scenes. Instead, lift your eyes and say, God, I don't understand this, but I trust you. I believe you're guiding me, even in this. Rejection can be protection from what you can't yet see. It can be the catalyst that leads you into your purpose. It can be the divine pause that prepares you for the right open door at the right time. When God redirects you, he's not trying to deny you joy. He's trying to deliver it in a way that's real, lasting, and full of peace. Trust the redirection. God's not finished. He's just turning the page. Growth is a beautiful but often uncomfortable process. It demands change, and with change comes separation. You cannot grow and stay the same. You cannot rise higher while staying attached to everything and everyone from where you started. As much as we long for consistency, comfort, and familiarity, real growth often comes through letting go. It means stepping away from what is known to pursue what is necessary. And sometimes that means walking alone for a season. God doesn't call you to remain in the same place forever. He calls you to go deeper, climb higher, and move forward. But as you grow, not everyone can grow with you. The people who were part of your beginning might not be equipped for your becoming. Their mindset may not stretch with your vision. Their habits may clash with your hunger for purpose. It doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean you're better. It just means your paths are no longer aligned, and that's okay. Growth requires separation from what's holding you back. That could be a toxic relationship, a draining environment, or even your own old ways of thinking. You can't step into new seasons while dragging baggage from the past. You can't carry bitterness, fear, and doubt into a place God designed for peace, faith, and clarity. There comes a point when you must decide, do I want comfort or do I want growth? Because most of the time you can't have both. Separation doesn't always feel spiritual at first. It can feel like rejection, abandonment, or even failure. It hurts to disconnect from people you once relied on. It's painful to outgrow spaces that used to feel like home. But God isn't removing people or situations to hurt you. He's pruning your life so it can bear more fruit. Just like a gardener trims a tree to help it flourish, God allows separation to create room for greater strength, clearer vision, and deeper roots. There are blessings you can't receive until you make room for them, and sometimes that room is created through loss. When God begins to strip away distractions, He's not punishing you, He's positioning you. He's clearing away the noise so you can hear Him more clearly. He's removing what's been draining your energy so you can focus on what truly matters. He's shifting your circle so you can grow in faith, discipline, and purpose without being constantly pulled back. Yes, separation can be lonely. You might find yourself in a season where it feels like no one understands you, where you feel disconnected from people you used to relate to. But solitude is not isolation. It's preparation. It's in those quiet places where God reveals the most. He teaches you, molds you, and gives you the clarity you couldn't find in the crowd. So don't fear the separation. Don't mourn the distance that growth brings. Embrace it, lean into it, trust that if God is calling you to walk away from something, He's also calling you into something better. Growth isn't always loud or obvious. It often starts with a quiet decision to let go of what no longer fits and step boldly into what does. There's a deep peace that comes when you stop only thanking God for what He gave you and start thanking Him for what He removed. It's easy to praise God when the blessings are visible, when prayers are answered, doors are open, relationships flourish, and success follows. But what about the silent mercies? The times He said no, the people who left, the jobs that didn't come through, the dreams that didn't happen. At first, those moments felt like pain, disappointment, even betrayal. But with time and faith, you begin to see that those were not losses, they were deliverances. Sometimes what God takes away is His greatest act of love. We often pray for blessings, not realizing we're asking Him to bless things that would harm us. We beg Him to keep people in our lives who were never meant to stay. We cry over closed doors that He shut to protect our soul. And in those moments, we don't see the full picture. We only see the void, the absence, the ending. But God sees beyond that. He sees what was coming if He had allowed it to continue. He sees the late night tears you didn't know were on the way. He sees the heartbreak, the betrayal, the distraction, the spiritual danger. So He removes it, not out of cruelty, but out of care. It takes spiritual maturity to look back and say, thank you, Lord, for what You didn't allow. Thank You for removing the people who weren't real. Thank You for taking away the opportunities that looked good but weren't good for me. Thank You for interrupting my plans because You had better ones. We don't always realize it in the moment, but some of God's greatest gifts are found in what He didn't let happen. God doesn't just open doors, He closes them too. And His closed doors are just as sacred as the open one. When He removes something or someone from your life, He's not trying to leave you empty. He's making space. He's clearing the way for something new, something better, something more aligned with His purpose for you. But as long as you're holding on to what he's removed, you'll be too full to receive what he's trying to pour in. Letting go becomes the first act of faith. Gratitude becomes the next. When you thank God for what he removed, you're saying, Lord, I trust you more than I trust myself. You're saying, even when I didn't understand, I believe you were guiding me. You're saying your ways are higher, your thoughts are wiser, and your protection is perfect. Gratitude doesn't always come with goosebumps. Sometimes it comes through tears. But those are the moments when your faith deepens, when your trust is refined, and when your heart starts to align with God's greater vision for your life. We spend so much time asking for blessings that we forget to thank him for the burdens he never let us carry, the relationships that never started, the deals that fell through, the friendships that faded. What felt like endings were really beginning. What felt like rejection was really redirection. What felt like loss was actually liberation. So take a moment and thank God, not just for the blessings that made you smile, but for the removals that saved your soul. Thank him for every no that shaped your destiny. Thank him for every delay that was filled with divine purpose. Thank him for every goodbye that led to something greater. Because when God removes, he's not subtracting, he's making room for his best. So the next time God whispers, they're not for you, don't argue, don't chase, don't cling. Trust that he sees what you can't, and he's protecting you from what you don't even know is ahead. Let go with grace, release with faith, and walk forward knowing that anything or anyone God removes from your life was never tied to your destiny. What he has for you is greater, purer, and perfectly aligned with his purpose. Listen when he speaks, even when it hurts, because his no is always leading you closer to your true calling.